First of all, thank you guys for taking time out today to come on the show and basically tell everybody what the events are and what's going to happen and how others can get involved.
Laura, do you want to start or I can go?
No, I'd like you to go, Sean, because this is.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm kind of heading up the LA March. What we're planning to do is actually go to Hollywood Boulevard because there's a lot of money there. There's a lot of people there, and what we're going to plan to do is we're going to start off Hollywood Boulevard, go down, turn at the CNN building because honestly, at some point in time, we're going to have to take on the media because at the end of the day, you were just talking about it. It's all censorship. You know what I mean? It's all. Like these organizations are controlling the flow of information for our entire country, so we're not really developing. And a lot of people don't know that like there's heads of the pharmaceutical board on the head of CNN and MSNBC. You know what I mean? So you think that you're getting like honest information from these people, like yeah, they're great, and then turns out like oh, the reason they don't like Medicare for All is because they have 85 ads for drugs like every day, and then he's like okay, so. I think so. What we were talking about is we're going to go to actually protest CNN to do the Medicare for All march because of the fact it's one of the main mechanisms. You know what I mean? And if you start to push back against the media, what you can do is you can actually kind of control the narrative a little bit. If you get a bunch of people outside of CNN protesting, angrily about Medicare for All, and people, why are they protesting CNN? Oh, CNN is bought by the pharmaceutical industry. This is so amazing. And so past that, we're going to, go to CNN, pass it, go back up Vine, and we're going to try to get, the Hollywood Bowls. So they have a big parking lot right across the street. So we're hoping to have a stage and everything and tables for people and organizations to come there and really kind of get their message out. Because one of the things that, we're really hoping to do is kind of build a coalition, consolidate the left, like this is kind of the problem. And I think that like Jimmy did a great job with Force the Vote, because what he really did was he showed people who thought like me, that if AOC ever had the opportunity, she would have taken action. You know what I mean? And they were just like, it's clear, like, oh no. And now you just have more and more people just waking up to this reality, like they're not going to do it. You're not going to do anything. So what do we need to do? We need to actually consolidate. So we're going to try to bring, try to get together a coalition so we can really come together and really actually build a left that has the capacity to push back. Because the last thing the Democratic Party wants is a left that is outside of their control, organizing completely, separate from them. And if that's what they don't want us to do, why not do it? So that's kind of where we're coming from. If you go to is it MedicareForAll.org? You can sign up through the Mobilize, and we'll get your email and stuff. And also, there's a By the People. So bythepeople.slack.com is where we're going to try to get trending topics going. So we're going to try to do 30 days of trending topics leading up to the march, where we're going to, go after Nancy Pelosi, where we're going to go after, different politicians in Washington, D.C. and I think something in Washington, D.C. and in Washington, D.C., Seattle, and LA. And so what we're going to try to do is to bring attention to these topics, to these issues. We're going to try to really get, 30 days of trending topics to really get people's focus and attention. So.
Okay. And that's July. So these are all going to happen on the same day, July 24th.
Yes.
Okay. So that's great. If you're in the LA area or live in Southern California or going to be in LA that time, go to their website and sign up so that you can be a part of this. But Laura, I want to talk to you because you've been working on this in the state of Washington for a while. And how is it coming together up there for you?
Okay, so just a little tiny bit of a correction on this, or not a correction, but just to kind of say so Sharif first reached out to me. It was a couple of months ago. It was after Force the Vote. He reached out, asked if we could have a Zoom meeting because he was interested in the Red Berets and whole Washington hey, you want to get involved in this march? And at the time I was like, oh gosh, it's going to be really, really busy because we're going to run an initiative for whole Washington. And but like, I really want to build this because we've been trying to work, whole Washington has been trying to work on it. Red Berets has been trying to work on it, building this kind of both and solidarity strategy around national improved Medicare for All, because I think that we all figured out what happens when we put all of our organizing eggs into one basket. Like when we rely on this top-down strategy, and or when we rely on electoral politics, one movement. So as I perceive it, our movement is in growth right now, in a kind of waking up and realization of here's what needs to shift for it to come from the bottom up. And unfortunately, orgs like Whole Washington are not getting the support, from the Medicare for All establishment or infrastructure and elected progressives. And it's really, really disappointing. But what is really amazing that's happening like full speed ahead is suddenly the grassroots and our amazing independent media are coming together and people coming out of Force the Vote, kind of reaching out to each other and saying, how can we do this? I am not I decided to delegate or ask somebody that is more organized and better at tech and better at a lot of things. And that is, it's at Captain Stack. So Andre Stackhouse is actually kind of, I don't know, chair is kind of an official, whatever, but he's the point person for organizing the Seattle March. Because I knew with being on the board of Whole Washington and being on the distribution team for initiatives, once we go to print, I was just like, organizing a march is a major, that needs to be your main project. We can have Whole Washington and volunteers of Whole Washington, but ideally the steering committee or the core organizers that are going to organize the Seattle March, in my own opinion, should be, they should be right there, local organizers. And what we did in 2018 with Initiative 1600 is on National Nurses Day. I'd never organized it before, but I think why I resonated with Sharif reaching out to me is because when I started crafting these red berets, I thought my whole thing was just like seeing like the pink hats and then hearing the national nurses and Bernie's message and going, well, oh my God, if we had that kind of craftivism going towards national improved Medicare for all, can you imagine like a sea of red hats or a sea of berets demanding healthcare justice, demanding healthcare, not warfare? We'd have something. So that's kind of, just in my own grassroots way. That's why I've been kind of just, we have been knitting and crocheting for people. So as far as telling you details about how the Seattle March is rolling out, I feel like, I just want to make sure that Andre Stackhouse, who emceed or kind of was the lead, I don't know if you remember seeing that Dr. Victoria Dooley and Justin Jackson came on and did the Power to Heal, the live Zoom showing with Whole Washington, which was so incredible of both of them. That's, it's just amazing, this kind of solidarity that's starting to show up now that people are realizing there isn't, we have veto Biden. We don't even have force the vote. What do we, all of us recognize that passing this at the federal level is better. You talk to any core organizer of Whole Washington and they're going to say, of course, it's more ideal to pass it at the, so anyway, if I've segued away from the march, I apologize, but the details I can tell you about that is just like in 2018 with the Nurses March, I think that Andre is putting together a coalition of people from different organizations so that we can have, some representation from Seattle DSA, some Socialist Alternative, Green Party, People's Party, Whole Washington volunteers, just anybody that wants to get involved, people that are totally independent of it. We just really want that grassroots coalition building. But for specific questions about that, he'll be able to answer. But we will certainly be there. And Kenny Ballantyne, who's working on this healthcare justice documentary, that he's put up some interviews already, he's going to come up and film and be part of the Seattle March. It would be amazing to do the outreach, and if Shama Sawant would come and be a keynote speaker. But as far as Seattle, I don't know. I can't give you like, oh, here's exactly where Andre is thinking about for the march. And I was torn because I really wanted to go out to Washington, D.C. to go support, the effort out there. We need 400,000 wet signatures, well, that includes the 50,000 buffer. We actually need 350,000 qualified signatures to make the ballot. So I kind of feel like we need a shit ton of solidarity. We're selling
That should be put
hats.
on a t-shirt, a shit ton of solidarity. We need a shit ton of solidarity.
Yeah. So, so I hope that, so my capacity or being invited on here, I think was just like, or my understanding of it was like this sort of connector, or the, how does whole Washington and the Red Berets connect with this vision of marches, 3 major marches and possibly more. I just wanted to give that shout out to Andre, because he'll be doing the nuts and bolts of the organizing, and but I can answer some other questions, whatever you have.
Yeah, let's. I have a couple of questions. I think we can get. Let me see. I want to try if we can get Sharif. If his is working out. Sharif, are you there? Your video seems scrambled, but are you there?
I'm here.
It's weird. We don't see your face. We just see like a crazy. No.
Really? That's odd. I've been. I literally called friends of mine. I've never used StreamYard before.
You just click the link and it, but for some reason it's not recognizing your camera. So if
I know, it was weird.
Is there,
I think it's the CIA, man. Let's
it is. It's a deep state. It's Big Kale. Big Kale's at it again. They don't want me to talk.
No, they're scared. The revolution is coming.
Well, the revolution is absolutely coming. Well, since the CIA doesn't want your people to know your identity, Sharif, we'll just keep you in this crazy virtual haze. But why don't you? First of all, thanks for reaching out to me. You've been a big. You're a very vocal voice in my chat for the last year or so, and I really appreciate it. You support my show, and then you've just decided to organize yourself, which I think this is awesome. That's why, when I say you're all political vigilantes, this is what I'm talking about, is just, you don't have to be a comedian or an entertainer or some big journalist or politician. You can just organize this stuff. And the fact that you're getting this done, I mean, I saw your post where you were knocking on AOC's door, which is fucking rad, dude. So really it's awesome that you're inspiring just people who watch the show, which is what I love, is that, people who watch my show are kind of from all walks of life. And that's what is important. And that's why Medicare for All is so important, is because it affects everybody. So tell us like how you came up with this idea, and then what specifically is going to be happening in DC, and also, and maybe Laura and Sean can weigh in on this in a little bit, but I'm assuming there's part of this is like, hey, if you want to organize one in your city, that's why you're talking about this several months in advance. But walk us through like how you came to this, Sharif, and what's going to be happening and how people can get involved.
Yeah. So the first initial like red flag for me to jump in was like when Bernie Sanders said, "Now is not the time for Medicare for All." So that to me scared the shit out of me. I literally was like, okay, the cat's out of the bag. The jig is up. We're never going to get it. But then I calmed down like most people. I was like, well, we're in a pandemic. There are probably other things at play here that needs to happen. So I was like, let's sit and wait. And I was like, maybe there's some backroom deals. We always hear about backroom deals all the time. So I was like, all right, let's just see. Let's just wait, see what happens. And then forced to vote happened. And then we all know what happened with that. And then I said, okay, shit's getting real. Let me seriously jump in here. Let me do something. So we all took some bumps and bruises from forced to vote. And me and Ricky Rance, he's also part of the team. He's helping me with the DC side. So we have 2 captains on each march. So me and Ricky are team DC, Sean and Joni is team LA, and then Laura and Andre Stackhouse is team Seattle. And how that started is just literally what Laura said. Seriously, when forced to vote happened, we all was upset. It hurt us really badly because we all said that this is what we want, and the ruling class and the politicians said fuck you. And so I reached out to Laura, letting her know that me and Ricky was saying that we want to do a march. We wanted some coalition building. There's other members of the team. Like we're Army now. There's a bunch of us. It started off like me and Ricky, Then it started off with Edie and other team members like Dan and so many other people we met online, and people we met on your channel like Truth to Tweet has been super helpful. Matt S has been helpful. Annabelle Coley has been helpful. Nikki from Backyard Politics has been helpful. Like, there's so many people that I met on your show, Graham. And so when I tell people that, you're responsible for this, they laugh, but it's true. Like, I don't think I would ever. I never thought about doing this, doing activism or being involved and being engaged. I watch your show, I watch Jimmy's show, I watch so many left-wing shows. I tell people like you and Ron and Lee and Jimmy, like my four horsemen, I don't think I would have ever got involved if I didn't watch your show or, be a political vigilante in some way. But the march was important to us because we're taking a different stance. We're not asking for a floor vote. We're asking for a demand. And we really want anyone who marches with us to know that, I don't care what, we're also talking to guest speakers now. I don't know if you know Savage Joy. She's going to be the lead MC for the DC March. Right now, we're trying to get that for the LA March. We're trying to get that for the Seattle March. Full disclosure, Graham, you're welcome to be the keynote speaker for the LA.
Okay.
So we're throwing it out there. So I would love for everyone, all the podcasters, everyone who is right on the issue. We want them to come out and support this on July 24th. We want to keep it fun, but also too at the same time we're serious. We want to let everyone know that this is we're not asking for a floor vote. We're past that. We don't do it now. We don't push now. We're never going to get it. I really believe that. That's part of the fire that's in our group. We all believe that if we don't push, and this is why I'm with whole Washington, because once they get it, I feel that's going to domino affect all the other states. Right now, whole Washington's leading. California is also doing something. New York is doing something. Connecticut is doing something. They all have their own version of single payer. So we need to embolden every state. It doesn't matter if I live in that state. Like I live in New York. AOC is my district. AOC. I live in AOC's district, but I'm not building up the New York, health campaign here. Because A, number one, I feel Washington is closest to get healthcare there. And B, the Red Berets in whole Washington, the love and care they're putting into making sure their state get healthcare, I feel like it's inspiring. And this is why I wanted to work with them. Laura was like my first go-to pick to contact before anybody else. The reason why I was nagging her for like months to join us is because her heart's in the right place. She's not bought and paid for. She's a real article. She's real, So, everything we're doing right now is building towards the march. So even with the whole me knocking on AOC's door and doing the visual, doing the die-ins, that's building more coalitions. That's reaching out to different people and letting people know that we're serious. This is not a game. I had people on Twitter reach out to me and say, hey, are you guys serious about this march? You guys are really serious. And we have people with preconditions, they're coming. And that's saying a lot. And it brings me to tears to know that people online, they're contacting us each and every day, asking us questions about the march, what's going on, because they feel that the moment is there. The movement for this is growing. I have nothing to do with it. I think I was called in a weird way. I don't like to take any credit for anything because I wasn't someone who got involved. I'm like late to this, I'm learning as I'm doing a lot of on-the-job training. So I don't really feel like I owe credit for this. I just feel that I was just moved because the movement is there,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's important. I mean, and it's great, I think, what whole Washington is doing. And I've talked about it on my show before that it probably, it'd be great if we got Medicare for on a federal level. I would love that. And I hope, movements like what you're all doing on, July 24th help. But I really, more than likely, it's going to be state by state. It's like in the way that we've decriminalized marijuana state by state. I think that's how it's going to go. And I think the more states that can try to push their state legislature to get this is
right.
What is going to do it. So I wanted to ask too, like, is that this is for Sean and Laura to here. I'm trying to unmute Sean's mic.
I'm good. I got it. I think that works.
I just wanted Sean and Laura to weigh in here. since obviously whole Washington seems to be the furthest along in terms of making actual leeway, they've been trying to get it done in California as well. How, and I put this question to all three of you, how, first of all, how is this, I mean, is this rally in the, I know you're in the early stages of organizing these three rallies, but is part of the talking points of the rally to encourage people at these local rallies to pressure local governments, state governments specifically, to move this? And what are you going to do to try to make that happen?
I can go. Well, one of the big things is like California, like people still haven't fully recognized the disconnect between like 88% of Democratic voters want Medicare for all, except the political party. You know what I mean? My audio.
Yeah, there's something like certain microphone is being hit by something. I don't know whose mic that is.
Sorry, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. It seems like the mic's still messing up. Anyways, what I was gonna say was that in LA, well, California is a big state, but you have Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein, you know what I mean, who are like representatives. And what ends up happening is, I think that at the end of the day, what we can begin to do is actually allow people to see the fact that they're not being represented in Congress. You know what I mean? To actually bring that, and more so than that, like Sharif was talking about, we do have the capacity to bring about change ourselves. You know what I mean? And one of the other elements of the march is to kind of give people the capacity, the understanding, like, you can do this yourself. You know what I mean? This is not like, there's no gatekeeping here. If we want to actually make the change, if we really want to get the change, the best way we can do it is by telling people this is also your country. You know what I mean? There's two ways you can change society. You can choose the mechanisms of power, which I think have all been put on lock. Or the other thing you can do is you can actually go into the society itself, change the society, and use a change within the society to affect government. You know what I mean? A person made a point about MLK and everything. Sorry, the audio is weird. But they made a point about we did not, black people didn't get the rights because of the fact that they voted on it. They got in the streets and they said, no, you're going to treat us like humans. You know what I mean? And the same thing is going to be true for Medicare for all and any real change that comes in this country. The only way we can actually get change in this country is when the people actually come together and say, this is our country. We're the people who actually make all this stuff run. Wall Street, Nancy Pelosi, whatever it may be, Republicans, Democrats, you think that you have power, but the only power you have is because we allow you to have power. We put you in these positions. If you're not doing your job, we're going to start going to your office over and over and over again and start demanding it. Because, and this is the point that I'll kind of end on, is that we all knew what was going to happen if Bernie won January 20th. The 21st, we were going to be in the streets. You know what I mean? We were we're not waiting. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of people, and I think it's because Jimmy, because he really kind of just shined a light on it, that at the end of the day, what happened was, we all just turned around why don't we just do it? You know what I mean? What is stopping us? I know Bernie didn't lose, but we're still here. We're all still passionate about it. So why don't we just do it? And so I think that's where a lot of people are coming from, and where a lot of people are really kind of waking up you know what? I can just do this. You know what I mean? So I think we have a good group.
Well, let me ask Laura, since whole Washington has made a lot of progress. First of all, how close are you, or do you think, in terms of just the citizens of Washington being on board, or even, where are you at in terms of the process of getting a ballot measure? I'm not sure how the state of Washington works for trying to get it, but where are you at in terms of trying to get Medicare for all for the state of Washington?
So we are, we've got our initiative number. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you? Oh, okay. It suddenly went silent, so I was like, "Can everyone?" All right. So we will be We'll be going to print very, very soon. We already have our initiative number. We had an error that happened in the filing, so that set us back a week or two. But our number is 1362. And so we will go to print. We'll probably have the petitions, I'm hoping next week, but it's always hard I don't want to say something. And then if it's, the week after that, I don't know, time is of the essence, but we have until December to gather the signatures. So if we successfully, I should say when, successfully, because we actually have over 200,000 pledged signatures. We've been, I want to be brief because it's like, how can I say as much as possible and be very succinct?
Well, how many do you need?
Yeah, so it won't go to the ballot if we don't. We need 350,000, but we need that buffer. So 400,000 signatures is what we need to do. And then if we accomplish those signatures, we will, the get out the vote will be on next fall's ballot. So we'll have some time to prepare because obviously the insurance, and this is why, to the point of many states starting to pick this up, what is actually the ideal is if we can get a couple of other states like California on board to start launching, because I think it's something like 25, 28 states have the ability to do referendums or ballot initiatives. I think it's over half, actually. Don't quote me on it, but you know what, whole Washington, because we've had this multi-pronged approach of, you know, organizing always for the national. We've organized barnstorms in solidarity with National Nurses United for Representative Jayapal's bill. Maybe you saw on social media, and Kenny Ballantyne came up and did the first weekend of filming. We did that sit-in outside of Representative Kilmer's office. He's actually, Rebecca Parson actually was his progressive challenger, you know, in 2020. And so we staged that here in Tacoma, Washington. So whole Washington's always working on putting the pressure on for the federal legislation. And in terms of pressuring our state senators, we had SB 5204, which we had 7 co-sponsors, 7 Senate co-sponsors. But because, and Jason Call for Congress, actually, he's on the board of whole Washington. He actually went through all of the PDC filings, and our state Senate Wealth Care Committee actually collectively it's 6 Democrats and 5 Republicans, chaired by Senator Annette Cleveland, who is a Democrat. And collectively, they have taken over $1 million from the insurance lobby, pharma, and private hospitals. So that's why we couldn't get a public hearing for SB 5204, despite phone calls, you name it. So the thing is that whole Washington, we've been doing the legwork to, those are my words. My words are my words. I don't like to really mess with the I'm over it. I'm over the legislative process. And the one thing I'm getting really super tired of within the Medicare for All movement is that for some reason, ballot initiatives they're treated like shit, frankly, or undermined, or there's this like talking point that's been there for a very long time, at least as long as I've been organizing. And as far as I can tell, much longer than that somehow ballot initiatives, if they fail, they undermine the movement. What about all the legislative failures that we have? We don't have any success at the legislative level. And I don't know about everyone else, but I'm tired of calling these legislators. I've called, I've emailed. We did a sit-in. I knew we would have to have like thousands of people outside. And I don't even know what the number is, what we would have needed outside of Representative Kilmer's office in order to get him to move. He's the chair of the New Democrats. He's just not moving on this. They're paid very well by their donors, by their corporate owners, not to move on this legislation. So for me, I'm super excited to go for this ballot initiative again, because it's direct democracy. We get to go out and take it to the people. And as far as this narrative that I'm sure is going to be starting to run from right-wing Democrats and from people who are purporting to be progressives, is probably going to be something like, well, what if they don't get the signatures that they need? This is going to harm and undermine the movement. No. We're out there talking and bringing direct democracy and letting people know we need this. There's people out there fighting for you. We're actually talking to them. We're building community. And let me just say, to the point of achieving this at the national level, I have always believed that we need this both and strategy. We're going to need coalition, grassroots organizations like whole Washington in every state, or in as many states as possible, so that we can mount the kind of pressure campaign that's going to be required. Whole Washington's, anyway, I could just go on and on and on, but it's nice to see, I guess, people coming around to this idea that we really need a bottom-up strategy. And, you know, it would be really great if Representative Pramila Jayapal would endorse Whole Washington. We've been asking her for a very long time. She has not endorsed. We don't have Bernie's endorsement. We don't have any of the major healthcare organizations that are the leaders of this movement. And, you know, it just has felt like for some time, like, oh, if we organize in enough solidarity, if we, you know, because of course we supported Bernie Sanders. The core Whole Washington was founded by nurses and by people who were inspired by Bernie Sanders' message, myself included, but that we could actually make a difference, that we could change this country, that we could fund healthcare. If we can fund endless war, we can fund healthcare for everyone. But so, you know, and I could understand prior to the establishment making sure that they kneecapped Bernie's campaign and silenced all the other people that were truth tellers in that campaign. And then we had all the brilliant candidates on the stage. I guess at that point, I could understand why people would be reticent to embrace the state-by-state strategy, as long as there was a really solid chance at moving together for national improved Medicare for all. But when it became clear, for instance, when we knew that Biden was going to be the nominee, when he said he would veto Medicare for all, for me, that was the point where I was like, okay, so now we know. And now when is the solidarity going to begin to come back to organizations that work very, very, very hard towards the federal legislation? When will that be returned to grassroots organizers all over the state of Washington and frankly all over the state of California and New York and wherever these movements are happening? So I don't mean that to come across as the huge, massive rant. Mostly what I'm thankful for is that people are rising up, that Sharif and team are reaching out, that Force the Vote activated people, that our independent truth-telling progressive media are picking this up, and there's all of this solidarity. Because if it's not going to come from the top Medicare for all leadership, then how are we going to, you know, and we're told that we need something like $5 million to successfully run a ballot initiative. Well, then help us raise that. Send out a fundraising email to Our Revolution National, DSA, but instead they're busy, DSA leadership is busy making fun of, you know, people who are wearing a hat and helping to fund a ballot initiative. I'm going to start saying the F word in a minute if I don't back off.
Ryan Knight is a national treasure. All right. I love
Well, before we go here, and I really appreciate the three of you taking time to do this, again, just let people know how they can get involved, because I think it's anybody listening to this, perhaps you can organize something in your city that joins this. So if more cities got on board for July 24th, or go to one of these major cities if you're living in the area or are able to travel, and also figure out what is required to get a ballot measure for Medicare for all in your state, the way they've done it in Washington. Every state has some sort of stipulation, 350,000, whatever that is. Figure that out and see if that's possible, because as Whole Washington has done, they're getting this set up so that it'll be on the ballot, you know, November of 22, which is the midterm. So they're starting, well, you got to start well in advance. So, Sharif, you know, leave us with some final thoughts on how people can get involved and what they can do.
Yeah, the best way to get involved is to go to our website. That's M4all.org. So that's M, the letter, the number 4, M, the number 4, and then all spelled out.org. Send us an email. You can also,
Kate, can you put that website up on the screen for us? I'm sorry. Can you say it again, dude? Here it is. Oh, yeah, it's on the screen. There it is. There it is.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. Absolutely. Yep. That's how, and that's my Twitter. We also have a Twitter account as well. Reach out to us on Twitter. Go to our website. We're going to start posting up. We're going to start posting on Twitter for volunteers. If you already want to be a volunteer, before we even list a job, you can totally do that. I have already people already asking me to volunteer. Already getting people already asking us for sending us donations already, which is really awesome. We're not even ready for donations. I'm already getting people asking us for money, sending us money, which is really cool. Because people are serious. People are getting tired, and they just want someone to recognize them. You know, it's as simple as that. I didn't realize how easy it would be to get a lot of people behind this. I'm learning a lot. I'm going to a lot of these meetings and speaking to other organizers from other different communities. And they give me a lot of notes. I'm getting a lot of feedback from them. And this is why, we're growing in Seattle, we're growing in Los Angeles, and we're growing in D.C. And we're going to also have a packet as well. We're going to tell people how they can get involved in their local community, what they can do if they can't reach to a march. We're going to show you what you can do, because it's not really difficult. I thought it was difficult, but I'm learning, again, from people like Laura, whole Washington Red Berets, and there's other different ways you can get involved in your community and do things to help educate, the masses to, get Medicare for All, because again, we don't have the leadership. We just they're not there. So people need to realize that the only way we're going to get Medicare for All is us. We protect us. We help us. We have to look out for us, because no one else is. This is a non bipartisan event, so I'm not attacking any political group. But for what I see, no one's helping us. And just imagine all the more people who are going to die this year because we don't have healthcare in this country, and that's something to think about.
Yeah, and it's people like Justin Jackson's mom or Amy Valela's daughter. Or it's going to be, it's going to just be regular people like that, or just, what Jimmy went through and go through just bankruptcy and bankrupt him and his wife financially, and just going to go, or what Savage Joy has had to go through. All those stories that we heard at the Force the Vote town hall back in January, they're still happening. Like you said, they're still just because it's still happening. 60-some thousand people are going to die in 2021 because they didn't have health insurance. So like, that's why it's just, I'm so proud of what you all are doing in terms of just like, let's get it done. And I love the multi-prong approach of let's pressure on a federal level, and let's get it going on a local level. Let's get ballot measures done, because if a bunch of states start passing this, look what's happened to Colorado. I always point to like Colorado, even though, California's had medical marijuana for a long time. It now has recreational marijuana, but the economy in Colorado has gone up because they've done that. Now you can say Medicare and marijuana are separate things, but I guarantee you this: whatever state passes Medicare for All first, people are going to move there. Businesses are going to move there. It's going to, that state's economy is going to go, come bring your business here, because now you don't have to give your employees health care because the state does. Like, people are going to say, well, why am I living in this other state where I'm paying $500 a month for some bullshit Obamacare when I can go get this? What I want this. And so they're going to move to that state, and the states are going to lose businesses or whatever. And they're going to go, well, shit, we need to get this on the books. And that's what's going to happen. So,
you're right. I've been saying that for a long time, Graham. I says, competition is good for business.
Yeah. I mean, you see it all the time. A bunch of businesses have left California because the California business taxes are so high, right? So these other states, Nevada, Arizona, Texas, have all said, we have low tax rates for businesses. So companies move their businesses out of there. And so, people are going to start doing that. They're going to say, the state of Washington, if they pass this, is going to go, hey, bring your business up here. I mean, and big businesses are going to leave somewhere else and go to Washington or whatever state that has Medicare for All. And that's going to wake people up. I mean, and all the ruling class gives a good goddamn about is their bottom line. So, stick it to them. They don't care. They have no morals. They have no nothing. They have no souls. They can't even see their face in the mirror, like fucking vampires, man.
That's
so like
real talk.
It's like,
I mean, and when you're talking about Colorado, I'm actually a Colorado native, so you're 100% right. And it was just a domino effect, and the people who moved here, it was just endless. You know what I mean? Because you give people like the option for a little bit of freedom, they're all for it. You know what I mean? It's just that we're constantly in this manufactured argument that is presented and put in front of us, like, oh, it's the single payer, it's a joke. It's like, no, you guys are having an argument amongst yourselves, and you're not even listening to the American public and the people. And it's just our system, because I think that we have like a government by money, you know what I mean? And as long as that's the case, you know what I mean, they're going to use poverty as a threat of kind of, fall in line, go to the job, don't say anything, because if you don't do this, you're out on the street. And it's just a mechanism of control, because at the end of the day, I think we've evolved. I think most people are evolved past this system. You know what I mean? And I think that the people in the power realize that humanity is probably on the next stage of social evolution. You know what I mean? From agriculture to written language, I think we're on that next step. And they just realize that the only thing that they can do is try to beat just beat everybody down as much as they can and make them so dependent upon money that they can't move, they can't do anything, and they have no capacity for any freedom or any self-determination. And it's just because of the fact I think that they're less evolved people, if I'm being completely honest.
Well, I really appreciate everything that you've done. Thank you so much, Laura and Sean and Sharif. And again, folks, it's on the screen. Look right there, M4M4all.org. Get involved. Be a volunteer. Get it going in your state. Show up at one of these rallies. Start a rally for the 24th. You have several months now to get involved, to start this rally, to get a ballot measure going. So just overwhelm them. There's more of us than there are of them. That's why they have to constantly keep us divided, distracted, and afraid. That is their whole tactic. That is the corporate media. That's why they want us to, have these political heroes that we think are going to ride in on white horses, and then they always capitulate to the power structure. So that's the way it is. But thank you all, and for all the work that you're doing and that you are doing. And again, folks, get involved, because that's how it's going to get done. It's not going to be voting every 4 years, hoping for some hero to ride in on a white horse and come into the White House and we've all done it. It's going to be direct actions like this. It's going to be local. I've been saying this since all the force the vote should happen. And it was just like, get local, man. And that's what they're doing in Washington. And that's what they can be doing in your state. So go to one of these rallies or get involved. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate your time and all the effort that you're doing. And we'll hopefully have you back on for some updates about what's going on.
For sure. Thanks a lot. And thanks a lot for doing this. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for you guys actually being willing to help out people, we wouldn't be able to do this. You know what I mean? You guys, you and Jimmy, the whole crew, like, really do appreciate you. Like, really.
It's my pleasure, man. I mean, I'm happy to do it. That's why I started doing this show, is to get involved and get people fired up and put people together. And I just love hearing that, like, Sharif and other people in this chat have started to work together. I mean, Annabelle, who lives in Australia, is helping out, because I mean, that just shows you, like, this is a global community. Other people in other countries are like, how the fuck does America not have health care? So, JFK said we were decades behind in 1960. He gave a speech in 1962 saying we are decades behind. So I'm done. I don't want to hear anymore. Well, how are we going to pay? We're paying for wars. So we got money for this. Enough. You guys are taking it to the streets. I very much appreciate it. So thank you all so much for being on the show. And please, everybody, go to their websites. And thank you, Laura. I think I've worn one of your red berets on the Convo couch. So I appreciate all that you've done. All right, Sharif, Sean, Laura, thank you all so much.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. You have.
See ya.
Thanks, Graham.
Have a great one.
All right. So there it is, guys. That's how you get involved. That's how you do it. Again, go to M4M4all.org. There's a bunch of ways to get involved. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood and rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, where you can support the show. Also, I have a Bitcoin wallet, a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and an Ethereum wallet in the show notes. We're taking cryptocurrency. I have a Coinbase affiliation link. We're going to be getting on some other exchanges. So that's how you support the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. YouTube is unsubscribing us at an alarming rate. I have a PayPal button at GrahamElwood.com. I even have a Venmo at Graham-Elwood. There's a lot of ways to support our show. We are getting crushed by YouTube. We've dipped under 73,000 subscribers because of YouTube. Thanks for supporting what we do.